3.0 is going to be about high school and transition. We want to make sure this is helpful and relevant to you. So there's going to be a few interactive activities and an evaluation at the end. The evaluation helps us continuously improve training. It should take you less than 2 minutes to do our evaluation. Everyone completing an evaluation will get a copy of the PowerPoint, and if you need it, a certificate of attendance. If at any time you lose audio or video, you can call using the phone number included in your registration confirmation email. Or my experience is if you just wait a few seconds, Zoom is going to link back up. Participants are encouraged to submit questions in the chat box. So y'all chat us up during the activities or in between if you have questions. Then there's going to be another question and answer section at the end of this. So my name's Melinda Elliott, and this is my coworker Wallace Johnson, and I'm your presenter for today. Frequently Asked Questions 3.0. Families Helping Families of Southwest Louisiana is one of 9 nonprofit family resource centers in the Families Helping Families network of centers. We're here to provide support to parents of children, youth, and adults with disabilities or special health care needs. We do this through individual assistance, information sharing, outreach trainings. This particular training was created with funding from the United States Department of Education for the Louisiana Parent Training and Information Center, which is a program of Families Helping Families of Greater New Orleans, and it was done in collaboration with the Louisiana Department of Education to be used by the statewide network of Families Helping Families centers. We provide webinars and in-person trainings on special education and lots of other disability-related topics. Check out our website and our Facebook page for our events at www.FHFSWLA.org regularly, and register for any upcoming training that might be of use to you. Y'all can also request specific trainings that you don't see or that you don't think that we've done before or that we've done in the past that you'd like to see again. You can do that on your evaluation. You can send us an email anytime you think of it. If you're interested in a topic, other people are too. One of the other things that I get to do at Families Helping Families, other than an education specialist, is, like Wallace, is I am the LACAN team leader. LACAN stands for the Louisiana Council Advocacy Network. Every state has a developmental disabilities council. And in our state, LACAN is the advocacy arm of the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council. And there are 8 other people like me. We're across the state in every LDH region. So even though there's 10 LDH regions, that's because the person in region 1 covers 1 in 10. So there's 9 of us. And we're in region 5. And if I know Wallace, he's already dropped you a link so you can join. It's free to join. So what are you agreeing to when you join? You're agreeing to get information alerts. You're going to learn all kinds of things about disability, all kinds of things. Past, present, future. You're also going to get information alerts. Hopefully, you're going to take action. A lot of times it's contacting your legislator when we contact you about an issue. Some of y'all are going to tell your story, and I'm going to help y'all craft an impactful story. Some people are going to do that at the round table, at the with the individual visits, because I want to hook you up with your legislator, or maybe in Baton Rouge at a legislative committee. We have yellow shirt days. We get together in these bright yellow shirts, and the legislators know us. And right this very minute, like August, I'm having community input meetings. There's community input meetings across the state to find out what you think and what concerns you about disabilities and what might be a legislative fix or Bessie fix if we could get the legislature involved or Bessie involved. So you probably want to be involved in those, and those I know for sure are on our website, on the FHFSWLA.org website. But yeah, if y'all have questions, y'all drop it in the chat. Okay, so let's start with a quick icebreaker activity. This is going to allow us to make sure that you can hear us and you can type in the chat. The first thing is to name something purple. And I'll go first. I love grape flavored snowballs. Since I was a kid. Especially the ones with the really fine ice and the purple, the grape flavoring on it. So, Miss Cynthia, what do you know purple?
Eggplant.
Eggplant. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I guess the LSU color.
LSU? Yeah, purple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, somebody said purple potato.
Purple potatoes, yum.
Isn't there a purple potato chip too?
I don't know if I've seen a potato chip, but I've seen purple potatoes.
Like a Mexican chip?
Mm-hmm. Oh, like a tortilla chip? Yeah.
I think I've seen those.
Yeah.
That's different.
Is that it?
That's it.
So let's go on to the learning objectives. Today's learning
objectives.
Yeah, y'all don't want to hear me sing. Today our learning objectives are to provide you with the meaning of frequently used acronyms related to transition process, to increase your knowledge about the post-school transition process, to introduce you to some of the adult service agencies and what they do, and to provide you with some great resources and handouts to use in the transition process. Let's talk about those acronyms. You're going to hear IEP, which stands for Individualized Education Program. You're going to hear FAPE for Free Appropriate Public Education. You may hear VOC Rehab, which stands for Vocational Rehabilitation Services. In Louisiana, we call it LRS, Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, but you might hear either one. You have the CIL, C-I-L, which is the Center for Independent Living, and then CAP, which is the Client Assistance Program. You're going to hear other things like we're going to talk in depth about age of majority, transfer of rights, Jumpstart, the April Dunn Act, and Leap Connect. So our first thing, what is a transition plan? A transition plan is a statement of transition needs based on a student's transition assessment and future goals. It must be written into his or her IEP. IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, mandates that at the annual IEP meeting, there's a focus on more specific planning and goal setting for necessary transition services. The factors to be included are academic preparation, community experience, development of vocational and independent living objectives, and if applicable, a functional vocational evaluation. If your child's teacher has been teaching a long time, you might hear her say something about a transitional IEP. And they did use that term years ago, but be aware, there's no such thing as a transition IEP. It's the IEP that you've been seeing with a transition plan attached to it. At what age does the transition plan need to be in place? Idea, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act requires the first IEP that will be in effect when the student turns 16 must contain a transition plan. That means that typically you're going to see the transition plan sometime when the student turns 15. Now, a transition plan, because they want it already there at 16, but a transition plan could happen before 16 if there's a good reason for it to happen. And you can call us and we can talk about what might be a good reason for there to be a transition plan done early. But the law says 16. It's got to be there at 16. Some parents ask, what if my child has no future goals? Lots of times, students with disabilities don't have future goals because they haven't been exactly given permission to dream like their non-disabled peers. Every person deserves a chance to have a job that they love and live as independently as possible. Your job as a parent is to encourage your child to dream of their future and help them identify things they might like to do. All students need to begin thinking about what they do as an adult before their first transition meeting takes place. Hopefully it starts happening as early as elementary age. When you have that conversation, what are you going to do when you grow up? You should be having those kind of conversations if you have a child with a disability too. That gives your child a chance to take an active role in planning their education and make school relevant to their future. That's the time for students to propose dreams and set goals for reaching them. Learn how to set goals. It's an avenue to prove what he or she can accomplish, to think about and identify things they enjoy and feel competent doing, and to set themselves on a path of their own choosing. And then they should also be realistic about how they'll need to accommodate their learning difficulties while they're pursuing those dreams. Transition planning should emphasize a student's ability rather than his areas of disability. Some steps high school students take to prepare for transition planning include using their school's career center to identify their interests and find out what education and training are required in that area, to complete interest inventories to help identify interests, skills, abilities, and aptitude as they relate to employment, maybe to do volunteer work or entry-level type jobs in their field of interest, maybe to observe and interview adults who perform the type of work that interests them. Or maybe they visit training institutes and colleges to learn about interest requirements that will help a teenager choose necessary classes to prepare for those in high school. We recognize students with more severe disabilities may have less opportunities, but we should always presume competence and give them the dignity of risk. Just like students without disabilities, students with disabilities change career paths often, and they change their after high school dreams. That doesn't mean they failed, just like it doesn't mean the typical student have failed. It just means they've adjusted their goals to align with their abilities and with their interests. Okay, here we get to share again. Are there other things you've done or can think of that would help a youth discover interests for future goals? Y'all chat me up. Can y'all think of anything? Wallace or Miss Cynthia?
They can volunteer at the local schools. They can volunteer at the mayor's office. They can volunteer at the courthouse.
Volunteering is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, or like you mentioned earlier, go tour places to see us, would I
Not
like to
just-
do this?
Not just colleges, but go tour the
Yeah.
actual jobs.
Like if you're thinking about maybe something with animals, maybe go to the animal control and ask to look around, see if that's a good fit. Or if you want to do something with a particular business, go to that business. Like, I don't know, maybe you're into something with painting automobiles. Or then go ask to see an automobile body shop to see how they paint cars. See if that's a good fit, because maybe the smell of the paint might be too rough for you.
Or you might love it.
Or you might like it. Yeah.
Would anybody chat us?
So let's see. I don't see any in the chat. Let me make sure I'm at the bottom. Yep, I'm at the bottom.
Good. Let's see. How long can my child stay in school? Lots of parents have that question. The school district is required to offer FAPE, the free appropriate public education, to those students with disabilities through their 21st birthday, unless the student has received a state diploma. Louisiana Bulletin 1706, the regulations for implementation of the Children with Exceptionalities Act states a student with a disability shall remain eligible for services until reaching age 22, unless the student has graduated from high school with a regular high school diploma. A student with a disability whose 22nd birthday occurs during the course of the regular school year, as defined by the local education agency, may be allowed to remain in school for the remainder of the school year. Notice that says may be allowed to remain. Okay, so the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition and the Center for Parent Information and Resources created a 15-page resource designed to help youth with disabilities take steps to transition from high school to adult life. Let's look at that resource. That guide asks questions like, are you worried about where to get food and where to live? You'd be surprised how many teenagers, high school students, are worried about those things and might never say anything. Are you worried about money? Is everybody worried about money? But anyway, do you need help making doctor's appointments or getting your medicine? They may have no clue how that's done because you've done it all this time. And it's time for them to start thinking about it. Are you worried about how you're going to get from place to place? And then that document's also filled with lots of resources and links to more resources. It's set up like a workbook with lots of questions and spaces for students to write their answers. So, this is a working website for your student to use to think about some of those things. The next one of the questions I get is, what about Jumpstart? Jumpstart is Louisiana's innovative career and technical education program. They call it a CTE program. Jumpstart prepares students to lead productive adult lives capable of continuing their education after high school while earning certification in high wage, more than minimum wage, you guys, career sectors. Students are required to attain industry promulgated, industry valued credentials. So this is something that they can walk out of high school with and walk to one of these careers with. They do that in order to graduate with what is called a career diploma. Jumpstart is an elective plan for students who are pursuing a university preparatory diploma. Jumpstart for students with IEPs, a little bit different, a little bit twistier. There are several Jumpstart pathways. Students with IEPs can participate in any of them. However, if a student with a disability that has a disability that persistently impacts their ability to progress in the general education curriculum per the April Dunn Act become eligible when they meet certain criteria. Okay, one of those things we talked about earlier was the age of majority. What does that mean? The age of majority is when all educational rights provided to the parents transfer to the student when they reach 18 years of age. That's true for all students, with or without a disability. So, you know your child has a disability and has an IEP. What does the transfer of rights have to do with your child's IEP? 1 year before your child reaches the age of majority under state law, that's 18 in Louisiana, you guys, the student's IEP must include a statement that the student has been informed of his or her rights, if they have any, under Part B of the Act, and that it will transfer to the student on reaching that age of majority. In addition, they're going to tell you, the parents, if are there any parents in here, that all the rights will transfer to their youth, whether your child has a disability or not. But they have to inform you with the IEP. It's going to happen, even if they forget to inform you. That's why I'm drilling on this. It means once your child turns 18, all of their legal rights will transfer them for decision making. Y'all need to think about that. Call one of us to talk about that. So, and we can talk about it a little bit here. So, what are the pros and cons of transfer of rights? What do you immediately think about if you have a child with a disability and the transfer of rights? Y'all chat me up, or y'all can answer in here.
There's a question in the chat box about Jumpstart. You want to take that now or at the end?
When I finish with this question, I hope.
Okay. All right. Right now, I'm not seeing anything about the transfer of rights. So, potential pros or potential cons? Either one, I'm not seeing it.
Okay. We can go back to the Jumpstart. I just wanted to finish the thought I was on.
Okay. All right. Here's the question in the chat. What if your child does not go to school at the age of 21? Can they still use the Jumpstart program? So I'm assuming this means they're out of school at 21?
It depends on why they're out of school. And it depends on the school system. So Jumpstart is part of school. So like, if your child got a regular high school diploma, then your child probably isn't going to want to go back to school to participate in Jumpstart. Is that enough?
It says to
It ends at high school. Jumpstart.
Jumpstart is a high school program.
Right.
And yeah, for a student with a disability, before they graduate with a regular diploma, they can participate in Jumpstart.
So the mom is saying he graduated this year and he's 19. So the question would be, what kind of diploma?
Uh-huh.
So what kind of diploma does he have? A regular one? Hopefully she can tell me in the chat.
And she can also go back to the school system and ask them.
Okay,
because they may have an avenue where that he can participate because he's going to be doing employment related type activities.
Okay.
But it's still is going back to high school. It depends on how her student feels about it.
And then I guess we're talking about students with disabilities, right? Jumpstart wouldn't be available for a regular student, would it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jumpstart is a regular education program.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I know there's youth programs too at the workforce center. So you could go to the workforce center and see what kind of supports and programs and things that they have at Louisiana Works. So there's programs there. And she's writing back
Is it for students with disabilities?
for any youth.
Do you have to pay for it? Because Jumpstart in school, if it's part of his IEP, there isn't going to be any charge for it. Okay, well, maybe the actual certificate there might be a charge for, because there could be a charge for everybody. But participating there isn't going to be a charge.
And she writes back, he was a sped and he's very severe disability. He does have a diploma. Is there any other programs he can get involved in? And then she said certificate.
If he has a certificate, he definitely can go back for Jumpstart. So I hate for you to give a whole lot of personal information on here. Why don't you call one of us? You can call me, I'm Melinda, or you can call Wallace, and we can talk about it in a whole lot more detail about who to contact and what kind of thing to say to do or to go with Jumpstart. But yes, there are other things you can do that don't have anything to do with school. And I'm going to get into a little bit more about that, like just here in a second, if you hang tight with me, okay? So let's look at this about information on graduation. This is the Louisiana Department of Education homepage. When you get the copy of the PowerPoint, this should be a hot link so you can actually go to it. If you see where the blue arrow is, where's the blue arrow, Wallace?
I must not. Oh, you must have skipped a slide or two.
Oh, you think I skipped this one?
I can start right here.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
What are the graduation options for students with disabilities? I did skip one. I apologize. Most students with disabilities in Louisiana will pursue a traditional pathway to high school diploma. Certain students who have an IEP have alternate pathways to a diploma available to them. At a high school level, some students are eligible under the April Dunn Act. And they can get a standard high school diploma by meeting standard graduation requirements through alternate means. We have another webinar about that as well, too, by the way. I'm sure this isn't going to answer all of everybody's questions, but this is just to make sure you know about these things. And then students are at the high school level who are assessed on LEAP Connect can pursue a diploma pathway by meeting alternate requirements altogether. There's resources to assist both educators and families in planning and implementing a successful high school experience for students with disabilities who had IEPs. And that's when we're going to go into the website, the homepage, the blue arrow that points at families and students. If you click that, it's going to take you to the next page. Let's see. Let me get where I'm supposed to be, you guys. Once I get off track, my brain needs to regather. Then you can look right here at where you find information about graduation. And on the Families and Students webpage, it's got preparing to graduate. And then on the preparing to graduate webpage, there's two blue arrows. Now those are our arrows, but it's pointing for graduation requirements and graduation pathways for students with disabilities. So go down far enough so you can see those web pages and see all the different resources that are available on those web pages. You're gonna find the Louisiana High School Planning Guidebook, something about credit recovery, stuff about the April Dunn Act, stuff about Jumpstart for students with disabilities, and more. So keep scrolling down to see all of that stuff, right? So let's talk about the transition meeting. Who's invited to the transition meeting? In addition to parents, the child and school personnel and other agency representatives participate in the transition planning process as needed. At 16 or younger, the student must be invited, and any other agency that's responsible for providing for or paying for transition services. This is where might have been this is what might be of interest to the lady that was talking about other things that her child could do. So there's the vocational rehabilitation, the Louisiana rehabilitation services that we talked about. That counselor could have been invited at school and is still available to your student. It's an adult agency. A social worker might have been invited, employment agency staff, independent living center, if you know about your Center for Independent Living, and this part of Louisiana, it's called SLIC, Southwest Louisiana Independent Center. Disability support staff from a post-secondary educational or technical school. So like colleges and like McNeese or SWLA have a disability representative there that might be invited to an IEP meeting and that your child might be able to access. People is knowledgeable about assistive technology, people knowledgeable about SSI, if your child doesn't already receive SSI, Medicaid. Sometimes your child is already, your child adult is already involved with places like in our area, the MCAL Human Service Authority, Division of Developmental Disabilities, and you may already know about waivers, and you might have a direct support worker, a case management agency, or the provider company that provides direct support worker. Some of those people could possibly come to an IEP meeting, or somebody from MCAL Human Service Authority to tell you about these types of services if you don't know, or call us because we'll hook you up. We'll start trying to hook you up as early as elementary school, so some of these things can be in place by the time high school. It might be healthcare providers, it could be mental health care providers at that IEP meeting, that transition IEP meeting. Sometimes probation officers, I try to stay away from those. Community park and recreation staff, transportation agency staff. I mean, there's a multitude of people that could be there, and those same people that can help your child after school, figure out what we're going to do after school. Sometimes you might have one of those agencies there to help you understand what kind of options you're being introduced to and what you should do to be able to help your child, or what your child should do to be able to access those options, right? If the school system can't get those people to attend, and there are people that might, seriously have help for your child, the school system is supposed to take other steps to obtain participation of the agency. I know some of the school system have transition fairs. Some of the school system have transition teams to be able to work with families with children in that age area, 16 all the way through them finishing school. you know, the school system was supposed to come up with ways. Sometimes I've seen teachers go get brochures, you know, provide the information as best they can themselves to get you started, you know. Each one of those agencies is going to have a different criteria. Each one of them is going to have a different language. So you're going to be learning the lingo. You're going to be figuring out what the criteria is for each agency. Call us. We can, you know, we have people here. You know, mine is 37. You know, I've accessed all kinds of agencies. Some of us have accessed those agencies ourselves. Call us. You know, we'll talk about it in detail with you. Questions? Yeah. Hit me up in the chat box.
Okay, I don't see any questions.
Okay, let's do another participant sharing thing. Think about other people that could attend your child's IEP meeting. Who is that? And how would your child benefit from them attending? Hit me up in the chat box. Or y'all can talk to me in here, Miss Cynthia and Wallace. You know, it's not like I don't want to keep calling you. But y'all can hit me up in here.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of good ones a while ago in the last. I don't know how many that was. Probably what, about 8 or 10. So it seemed like there was a lot. So any of those that you mentioned just a while ago could be, you know, attend the meeting, and the child, so hearing from them might help them with knowing what to do with their career. You know, sometimes hearing input from others helps. You know, to know with planning. So, most certainly.
Anybody put anything in the
And
chat?
I don't see anybody in the chat. I hope y'all are there. Hello.
I did talk about vocational rehab, Louisiana Rehabilitative Services for just a second more. Because people think, oh, it's going to help them find a job. It's going to provide job training. But they have unique programs to help a person with a disability find a job, be trained for a job. They have things like job coaches. They have things like an agency that can help with job shadowing and job selection. They can do work evaluation testing. They can do job readiness programs. They can provide assessment and pay for assistive technology for people that needs that sort of thing for specialized jobs. So maybe you need a customized computer interface to be able, because you have physical or sensory difficulties, but you can do a job that would be important to. They can help you with find it, be assessed for it, and acquire it, right? They have job counselors that at times often have disabilities themselves that can talk on a personal level about this to the person with a disability. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to look for. They have some medical, some therapeutic services. That's just my 2 cents for one of the, not the only, but one of the major agencies when your child is approaching graduation and an adult.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
In vocational rehab, like the other individual students can go to like programs during their senior year or prepping for a transition. Do vocational rehab help you from 9th grade or 10th grade, 11th grade?
So it depends on your area, and some areas of the state have transition through LRS helping as young as 9th and 10th grade.
Okay.
Some don't. It depends on the local offices, the programs they have there, the staffing that they have there, and the kind of agreements that they have with the school system. Some of them support students with disabilities to access the same programs that the regular ed students are accessing in that time frame.
Right.
And be able to participate that way.
Right.
So it kind of depends on your child. It kind of depends on the office in your area. But yes, they do some of that.
Like the pre-EPS program.
Like they go to the vocational rehab school. You know how they send them.
A career center.
Yes. So I was curious, but then vocational rehab program. So if they need any technology assistance, they could help them provide that for them. Okay.
Yeah, they help provide funding for some students with disabilities that are able to go to college, because they might need they might need funding above and beyond what they could get from federal funding to go to college, or they might need funding that's not necessarily part of the federal funding that's available to everybody, but specific because of their disability for some reason. They they interact with all of the regular things, and then they have some things that are, because you have a disability, you might need this kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Where am I?
And I think you covered this one, right?
I sure did.
Okay.
So let's talk about the Center for Independent Living. I did mention the CIL earlier. The term Center for Independent Living means a consumer-controlled, community-based, cross-disability, non-residential, private, nonprofit agency that's designed and operated within a local community by people with disabilities and provides an array of independent living services. 51%, a little over half of the staff, sometimes all of the staff, are persons with disabilities, and 51%, a little over half, sometimes all of the people on the board of directors are people with significant disabilities. ASIL provides the following core services: information and referral, independent living skills training, individual and systems advocacy, peer counseling, transition assistance from nursing homes and other institutions to community-based residences, assisting individuals to avoid institutional placement, transition of youth with significant disabilities after completion of secondary education to post-secondary life. Louisiana has 8 independent living centers across the state. New Horizon has centers in Shreveport, Monroe, and I believe Alexandria. Resources for Independent Living has one in Kinder and in Baton Rouge. And then Southwest Louisiana Independent Center has an actual center, an actual place in Lake Charles, Leesville, and Lafayette. So you can get more help and advice there from other adults with disabilities. So what's the CAP program? CAP stands for the Client Assistance Program, and it helps people working with or applying for Louisiana Rehabilitation Services and American Indian Rehabilitation Services understand all their benefits and rights under the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. In Louisiana, we have an agency, a law firm called Disability Rights Louisiana, and it provides those CAP services. So you need help, that's where you can go to help. Okay. Lots of families have this question: will I lose benefits if I go to work? Social Security and other programs have lots of programs and rules. The goal is for people who can work to work, but they understand sometimes people still need benefits due to employment inequities that people with disabilities often face. It's not unusual for people with disabilities to still collect some benefits while they work. Individuals with disabilities, we want to recommend that they go to work with what's called a benefits planning services agency. That's a mouthful. They're going to go over your unique situation and give you guidance that's specific for you, because there's so many different programs. But yes, there's help for you to be able to figure this out. The Louisiana Benefits Planning Services has 2 Social Security funded work incentive planning and assistance grants. That's those people that are going to help you figure out your individual situation. One is at LSU Human Development Center, and the other is at Lighthouse, Louisiana. Is healthcare transition part of school transition? Healthcare transition is the process of moving from a child family-centered model of healthcare to an adult patient-centered model of healthcare, with or without, usually with, transferring to a new clinician. So usually you get a new doctor, right? It involves the planning, the transfer, and the integration into adult-centered healthcare. The goals of healthcare transition are to improve the ability of youth and young adults with and without special healthcare needs to manage their own healthcare and use healthcare services. And the other one is to ensure an organized process in pediatric and adult care practices to facilitate a smooth transition process, preparation, transfer of care, and integration into that adult-centered care. If you need help with healthcare transition, then it should be included as part of the transition plan, that page that's attached to the IEP at your school. There's also a website called Smooth Moves, YHT.org, and it provides great resources that can help you map out those steps for the healthcare transition. And then there's this. Parents ask, can my child with an intellectual disability really go to college? That has changed so much in the past few years. I'm so excited. So the short answer is yes. Louisiana has several programs available at universities and community colleges around the state for students with intellectual disabilities. This list is growing, so you want to call the Families Helping Families Center where you're at to discuss what options are available and where they're located. But yes, I'm excited to be able to say yes at that. I want to show you a little bit about the Smooth Moves website, some of the resources on there. This is the homepage, and you can get there by going to smoothmovesYHT.org. That website was created by Patty Barovicchio, a nurse in the Louisiana Bureau of Family Health. It was created with teens and youth in mind that are getting ready to transition into adulthood. A lot of those resources are specific to healthcare transition, which is really important, as many students with disabilities also have healthcare concerns. But it has other great resources. So if you look at the toolbar at the top of the homepage, on our picture, you're going to see our gold arrow this time, pointing to the YHT plan. On the YHT plan page, one of the things I like about the site is the What's the important step I need to learn section. That's located on the home page. You just have to scroll down to see it. We're still on the YHT plan web page. It has information on how to plan for your transition. If you click where it has planning tools by the gold arrow, a bunch of great planning resources will come up. When you get this PowerPoint, you're going to be able to see some of these things and compare some of these things, right? It's kind of hard to explain and envision even with our pictures. You can see from that resources area, there's more than just health transition. You can see about creating your own plan, readiness assessment, a work groups for youth career planning, questionnaire, career interest survey, young adults transition plan. Then on the next page is what they call tool downloads. And you can use those for the transition planning. So, to summarize, our learning objectives were to provide you with the meaning of frequently used acronyms related to the transition process, like age of majority, transfer of rights, jumpstart, April Dynamic Leap, Connect, and vocational re-up. In order to increase your knowledge about post-school transition process, you learned your child needs a transition plan in place the year he turns 16. The plan is his or her goal for the future. They can have the plan earlier than 16, and we talked a little bit about ways to help your child determine future goals. We talked a little bit about graduation options. I'm like trying to give you a taste of all of these things, and that your child can stay in school through the year they turn 21. We discussed different adult agencies that can be invited to transition meetings with your permission, by the way. We introduced you to some of the adult service agencies and what they do. We provided you information on Louisiana community colleges and universities that have developmental disability programs. And then last, we provided you some good resources and handouts that you can use in that transition planning process. Here's a list of websites. Lots of websites that we've mentioned today. When you get this, they should be hot links, so you can go and look, okay? You're going to get that. You're going to get this PowerPoint when you do my evaluation. And then we have handouts. So in addition to that list of links that'll be in your PowerPoint, you're going to get electronic copies of all these documents. If you need additional support on your parental rights, or if you're somebody with a disability, your own rights, or other education issues, you contact us at 1-800-894-6558. That's toll free. Is that important anymore these days? Or if you're in Lake Charles, you can call us at 337-436-2570. You can always email us at info at FHFSWLA.org. We got social media all over. Check our social media channels. Facebook, Instagram, like us, follow us, share our posts. There's lots of great information on there. You get notices about our trainings, our webinars. Our website has a list of all of our trainings. Sign up for some of them. So, Wallace is going to put the link for the evaluation in the chat box. Wallace does all these great things, and he can send you a link by email. There's not that many of us, though. And those of us here have a paper copy of the evaluation. It helps us improve our training, you guys. We're serious about our evaluations. We want to know what we can do to make them better. We want to know what else you want to see. And then, of course, you're going to get a copy of our PowerPoint and a certificate of attendance if you need it, any handouts. And I appreciate y'all. I am open for more questions. That is the end of our frequently asked questions 3.0. I hope you learned something. That's my earmark of a good webinar or workshop. Did I learn something different or something new? We are done. You got any questions?